and you're watching P Life. It's Dyno Day, baby! So today we're headed out to Auto Performance Modifications, which is a race shop in one of the Chicago suburbs. And we've got a few cars coming out there. We're going to be all testing them on the dyno. So today's lineup, we got a 2018 Carrera T, which is my car, which is a little bit modified. It's not quite stock hardware. It's got a full Kline exhaust, so the manifolds, in addition to 200 cell sport catalytic converters, and then it has an X pipe in the back, also running the AMS high flow air filter, and the software tune, which was done by the dealer in Porsche Barrington, is from GIAC. It is the Champion Motorsports tune. The second vehicle that we've got coming out is a base 991.2 2017 Carrera with stock ECU calibration, but that car isn't fully stock. It's got the Fabspeed muffler delete or X pipe exhaust, and so a little bit better of a comparison to my car because I have some exhaust modifications on there. The third car that we've got is a 2018 Carrera T with the AMS filter and the slip-on muffler, which actually used to be on my vehicle. I gave it to my buddy, and he will be running the 93 octane map from Cobb Tuning, which is another tuning option for the base Carrera, a little bit cheaper than the GIAC, but not a dealer installed product. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, on the same day, on the same dyno, how these all compare with respect to wheel horsepower and how the mapping is. Despite the fact that they're not all running an identical hardware setup, there's some exhaust modifications on the three. It should give us a little bit of an idea of how they compare, at least on the same day, on the same dyno. But interestingly, we've also got an RS3 with the APR Stage 2. That vehicle has, I believe, downpipes and high flow air filter setup, which is actually pretty nice. It's a 2.5 cylinder straight 5, I believe, which is a really strong engine. And so we're going to get all these cars on the dyno today. It's a Mustang dyno at Auto Performance Modification, so it should be able to dyno rear wheel drive vehicles as well as all wheel drive vehicles. And this is pretty much how it's going to go down. We're going to go in there, they're going to strap us in one by one on the dyno, and we're going to do 3 pulls, basically back to back to back. I don't think they have any fancy, you know, fan setup to blow air into the intercoolers or anything like that. So, you know, we might be getting a little bit of heat soak, you know, towards the third pull. And it's a pretty reasonable price, actually. It's $150 for the 3 pulls with one graph. And we're going to try to see if we can get some overlays. And honestly, I think the RS3 is going to floss everybody. I've been in that car. That thing is a complete animal. It pulls way harder than the GTR that the guy used to have. And I will be absolutely shocked for a heavier car that feels faster than my T does too. You know, if he's not putting down every bit of 460 at the wheels, all 4 wheels. All right, cool. All right, we got Dimitri here. He's got the RS3. He's got a little bit of a surprise. He decided to fill up and leave it with E85, so we have like 8 million horsepower.
I refund, okay.
I'm gonna go around, take a sneak peek at the car getting strapped down. And then after the first test pull, where they make sure that it doesn't fly off the dyno, it's a Mustang dyno, I'm gonna go in there and film pulls 1 and 2 and take a look at the output. What is it?
484.
484 at the wheels. All right, that's it. All right, so we're getting the Carrera T strapped in. You want to be on the video? Yeah, Carol's in in the video. Yeah, so his T has the Cobb tune. You're running what, the 93 map, 93 octane, a Krapovich muffler, and they are getting it all strapped in to the dyno right now. With the rear tow hook, you got to remove the license plate, and then front tow hook, you just pop out the little cover thing, and then once it's safe, we'll get in there and film the pulls. So that was 404 and 450, so 404 horsepower at the wheels and 450 pound-feet of torque. Actually, the first pull was the best, and then we had some heat soaking in the second and third pull, so I'll show up the figure for the first pull. All right, so we got the T on, the GIAC tune. There's no specific map. This actually, the car will auto-calibrate for whatever type of gas you put in. Anyway, you won't hear me because of the fans. Steve here, he showed up with a Carrera S with power kit and Carrographic straight pipes, some little catalytic converters. Steve, hey Steve, what's up, man? Say hi. No, nothing. I got him off guard here. I'm filming all the dynos. All right, and then we're gonna go over some of these plots in a little bit. All right, let me just get this for a second. So something interesting actually happened. Was the GIAC calibration actually still has a lot of the safeties put in place, and I'll get some graphs a little bit later where I have Cobb versus GIAC on the same thing. But as you can see on the GIAC tune here, it's actually going up to 2690, and then it's plateauing at 398 pound-feet of torque all the way to probably a little bit over 4650, and then it's kind of has a natural decline there. So either it's over boosting or there's a lot of safety built into the tune. So the numbers here were 398 torque, 393, and this is at the wheels. Compared to a stock Carrera, and this one actually has a Fabspeed exhaust on it and some lighter wheels. The peak was 322 and 337. Kind of same looking plateau here early in the power band for the torque, and then you get this horsepower peak a little bit later. gonna do the S power kit again. You won't be able to hear anything once we get in the shop. So we're going to do a little bit of a recap of the different pulls. So horsepower is in red, torque is in blue. So the dotted lines with the space are the base 991.2 Carrera. The solid line is my car with the GIAC, and as you can see here, it starts to pull torque. There's some kind of limiter here. And you get a different slope, whereas the Cobb does not limit the torque in this range here, and you get a better peak. So there's a lot of better area under the curve. The peak horsepower is also pretty similar, and so the my car is running 398 torque, 393 horsepower. The Cobb is 404 horsepower and 450 torque, and the base is 337 and 322. So 337 horsepower, 322 pound-feet of torque. So you're getting somewhere in the 70 pound-feet gain. Whereas with the GIAC, whereas with the Cobb, you're probably getting an additional 50 on top of that, so like 120 pound-feet at the wheels, as measured on this Mustang dyno. GIAC versus the Cobb versus the stock GTS map. All right, so you see the solid line here, the solid red is the Carrera S with power kit. Middle line here is my GIAC tuned Carrera T, and as you can see, the power delivery structure is very, very similar to the stock GTS, except the GTS has a little bit more top end because of the bigger turbos. So overall, I'm actually pretty happy with that curve. The Cobb actually has a lot more area under the curve and ends up somewhere in between the GTS and the GIAC. What's really surprising is this torque. So the bigger turbos, I don't know if this is a lag, but it takes them probably a little bit more time to spool up. And then you have this also this flat curve, maybe with a little bit of gain here because of the cat delete, versus the Cobb, which is almost completely unrestricted looking. So I want to say that the GIAC has very, very similar power delivery to kind of a stock GTS, and that's kind of what I'm feeling on the street. This is in fourth gear. I don't know if second gear has these kind of limiters set in. I don't see why not, because it seems to be developed with the Pee-wees too. But again, whether or not the drivability is different between these two, I wouldn't know. I'd like to get behind the seat of the Cobb and see, but I definitely can feel this in the car. I'll have my boost kind of in this range here. It'll only hit 13 psi. When I hit here, it'll ping 15. It's probably going well above 15, maybe to 19. So I wonder what Cobb's doing here. So yeah, just food for thought.